What if we are supposed to be miserable? What if our overlords designed us for suffering? And therefore, what if Clunky is better?
It's a weird thing when an idea suddenly pops up in your head out of nowhere, and now you can't get rid of it. It all started a few days ago when I was reading Berserk for the second time and reached the first confrontation of Guts and Serpico. I know what you're thinking. This guy had his 5 minutes of Berserk and now he's gonna lecture us about suffering, but bear with me as this isn't about suffering. Maybe because it was a source of inspiration for it, but that chapter of Berserk reminded me of Dark Souls 2. No, don't worry, this video is also not another review or an analysis of Dark Souls 2. It's about a phenomenon present in many games. If you have ever played a FromSoft game for 10 minutes, you know how half of the community hates Dark Souls 2 and considers it as clunky or buggy or straight up terrible. Anyway, as I reached this panel, something suddenly hit me. What if clunky is better? What if games are not supposed to be that smooth? Let's talk about why I came up with such conclusion, but before that, I appreciate any form of support, even as small as hitting the like button and subscribe. Thank you. For you to better comprehend where I come from, let's first talk a little about Berserk. Guts, the main lead of the manga, is a real tough bulky dude who holds a tough bulky sword. Wielding such heavy weapon is what defines Guts and makes him stand out. On the other side, we have Serpico, a secondary character who's rather thin and lightweighted, wielding a rather thin and lightweighted sword. These two characters will confront each other a few times throughout the story, till at some point they eventually fight it out. Now before you make the mistake, no, it's not an over-immortal moment. If Serpico would face Guts in an equal situation like how Viper did the mountain, the man would be shredded to pieces in the first 3 seconds. Serpico isn't interested in fair fights, and that's the point. He keeps acting as if there's no beef between them, only takes off his mask when he has the real high ground and can equalize Guts' insane power.
You underestimate my power!
Like this panel I was talking about earlier, he blocks his way on a ledge. Apart from their freedom of movement being taken away and the peril of accidentally falling down, the real genius behind this move by Serpico is that Guts is right-handed. Literally because he has lost his left arm, and since his right side is blocked by the wall, he can never wield the sword properly. Therefore, equalized. What I'm trying to say is that Serpico knows his opponent. He knows that he can never reach the other end of that sword soon enough, so he relies on other advantages. Environmental advantages. So yeah, we're Serpico in this scenario, right? Nope, we're Guts. Oh, how so? Let me explain. Guts is that powerful invincible character, right? He's the man that falls down but always stands up again and tries harder. That's textbook definition of video game main character. He faces a challenge and he finds a way to push past it, even if it's unfair. Serpico isn't supposed to challenge Guts. He doesn't have what it takes to do so, yet he does. How Guts will respond? Well, we find that out many chapters ahead when Serpico pulls the same trick again, trying to fight Guts in the middle of a cathedral with lots of columns. This time, Guts won't let him get away with it. He had enough of his BS, swings his sword and demolishes the columns like a G. That's what Dark Souls 2 is about, but hold that thought, that's what real life war is about. As I shared my experience on war in another video, war is never fair, and if its players can't find a way to deal with that fact, they either die by a bullet or by their own fear. And now finally it's time to talk about what we came here for, Dark Souls 2. You might have not noticed, but people are actually divided on Dark Souls 2 problems. Some say it's really difficult, while some say, to your surprise, that it's actually really easy. Which side is right? They both are. The game has some imbalances that if you know about and can tweak, it's gonna get easy like crazy. Sorta like how real life is, right? Thinking back and saying if I did that thing 10 years ago, I was living like a king now, but no one told me. That's exactly the case for this game too. Hitboxes are weird, and that can help you find safe spots between them, or it can turn your life into a nightmare. Overpowered items are there that sleeping on wouldn't be a smart decision. That's why I use the word clunky. Not difficult, not easy, not bad and not good. Clunky. I'm not gonna list every single problem here. We know they exist. Though this video sums it up pretty well. Check it out. What I'm gonna talk about though is that this is exactly like Guts fighting Serpico in the most unfair situations. If everything was fair, if the plane was even, what would be the fun in that? Would you rather fight someone who wields exactly what you wield, wears the exact armor and does exactly what you do? Because that's the only way a fight can be fair. Other than that, the differences, the diversity of it all, in the end someone will get the better hand. That's the case for every boss fight there is. At the beginning the boss has the element of surprise, therefore has the upper hand. but you have the advantage of learning and getting better. They don't. So eventually you will be the dominating force. Now in the case of Dark Souls 2, we can go a step further towards this logic. The table is not just tilted, it's upside down. Your new features that won't work here anymore. So what? The game is not perfect, but what is? Do you even know how many flaws have turned into fun little details of their games later on? Zelda's screen scrolling, Half-Life's ladder jump, bunny hopping in every FPS game there is. These are basically the bread and butter of speedrunners. All I'm saying is that this fixation on finding problems in games is getting out of hand and it shouldn't even exist. It won't let you enjoy the game, and Dark Souls 2 was one of my favorites. The way Emerald Herald says I will always be at your side, oh my god.
Bearer of the curse, I will always be at your side until hope has fully withered.
Of course this is all just my opinion and I might be wrong, but I would say that something similar happened for me with 9 Souls. When 9 Souls got released, I was so hyped about it, given that it's a clean Metroidvania, and that I knew it's gonna be a big thing so I can talk about it on my videos. As I kept going deeper into the game, I noticed a whole bunch of problems that made it insufferable to play, like how the iframe is too short, or how jades aren't diverse enough. Now these are fair arguments, there's no doubt about that. The iframe is actually that bad, but does it really matter? In the end, I was the one who didn't get to fully enjoy this really good game and received backlash for criticizing it for 2 months. Now you might say, okay, I can see why clunky doesn't necessarily mean bad, but didn't you say it's even a good thing that Dark Souls 2 has these problems? Yes, and here's why. These flaws, weird hitboxes and exploitable mechanics gave the game something most developers look their entire lives for and never find. The same thing that 99% of today's games lack. Character. You might play 100 RPG games, but would you remember every single one of them? Can you tell a sensible difference between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 that significantly separates them from each other? With the same logic, Guts fought a lot of secondary and unimportant characters. The only one I remember is his duels with Serpico. Dark Souls 2 has character. Even if it's not a great one, it's still a memorable one. It's rich with everything and you can see it was made with passion. So please, please play it with passion. I think I said everything needed saying, so take care. If you enjoyed, hit the like button and subscribe, and don't you dare go hollow.